first thing that I'm going to be doing is getting a character from HumanGen. If you're not familiar with this add-on, it's pretty great. They've got a lot of cool characters that you can use and create really quickly. If you don't have access to this, I will throw my character in the link in the description so that you guys can use it. For this, since we're going to be playing a piano, I'm going to give it more of a sort of fancy business attire. And for hair, I don't think I'm going to do anything. And feet, we will put in some dress shoes as well. So to animate this guy really quickly, the thing that I'm going to do is just select everything. And well, first I will save it. Now that we've saved, we're going to go and just export this guy as an OBJ for mixamo. Selection only. Everything else is fine. So all we're going to do is take our OBJ file and upload the character. And then when you're uploading the character, all you have to do is align these little rigging points. Pretty straightforward. And I don't think you have to be too crazy accurate. All right, now that our character is uploaded, we can do some fun stuff here. The one that I am really interested in is this piano playing. They have really good mocap on the hands, and it makes it look realistic. So I'm just going to download it with skin at 30 FPS. Take that right over to our file, and then throw it right into Blender. It'll come in at a small scale. Just scale it up 100. Pretty simple. And then with the Rococo add-on, we can make this retargeting go really easily. So set our source to the imported animation and then just click build bone list. Rococo is also the sponsor to this video. If you don't have Rococo, it's really nice. As far as the retargeting goes, you can also use my code in the link in the description to help me out for this channel. And just a little bit goes back to me, but if you're interested in getting into Rococo gear, it's really fantastic. And obviously the add-on is free for Blender, so you can just download that and use it straight from their site. Going to Rococo Integrations Blender. It's really simple and really straightforward. So with that, we built our bone list, and then we're just going to hit retarget animation, right? And it's not perfect exactly, but the big thing that we wanted is the hands, and the hands look fantastic. And that's great because we didn't have to do any animation, and it's just really straightforward. So from there, we will go ahead and hide our old guy. Oh, and if you're wondering what the purpose for that was, instead of just downloading a mixamo character, reason why, it's the bone weights. So the bone weights wouldn't be the same, and then when you go to retarget, it actually wouldn't work. The bones would be flipped. And just make sure that you upload the J in the link in the description. And with that, we will go here, and we'll just hide that guy. All right, there we go. And then from there, I'm going to use BlenderKit. BlenderKit is another really great Blender add-on. It's also free as well. And we're going to be using the free system as well, just so that you guys can use it along with me. But I do have the Pro plan, and it looks like this very first piano that I just clicked on is perfect, actually. So we'll go along with that. Okay, so for the camera, I'm going to set up our scene here. I was thinking 12 seconds makes a lot of sense, and I want to use 24 FPS, so we'll go 24 times 12, 288. And what we're going to do is we will pick a nice starting point, so probably from this angle, come back a bit, change it to our vertical format so that we can really see our full composition here, and then we will add a Bezier curve. And the reason we want to do that is so that the camera can just follow along this path super easily, and we don't have to worry about any complicated animations. So we'll do follow path, and then sometimes you need to reset the camera's position, and then it'll come back right here. The other thing we want to do is create another empty, and I like to use arrows. And with that other empty, we are going to set a track 2 constraint, and that just keeps a certain focus on, so that we know our camera is always pointing in that direction. And from there, all we have to do is utilize this little dial right here on the objects panel, and it will do the full circle for us. So I think I get the camera to start right here, and just it's a really good spot to immediately know what's going on. And I think I'm also going to increase the size of this circle to, let's say, 10. Now we can still tell what's going on, but we also get a little bit more of that environment. I think actually I'll throw it back down to 8, not 87, and then actually just increase the camera's focal length, or decrease it to 35. And what that'll do is that'll just give us a little bit more range, again, to see the background that we're working with here. Throw in a plane, just so we know where our environment line is going to be. And throw that into render mode, just because I'm crazy and I like to see exactly what we're working with. Actually, obviously, before throwing that into render mode, let's finish our animation. So the thing we're going to do here is we're going to animate the follow path. So we're right at 75. And we're going to do that animation on frame 0, and then we're going to take the camera all the way around the circle, one full length, and I'm going right, so you can go either way, but I'm going right, and it's actually just 100 plus whatever number you're on. So for me, it's 175. I'm going to normalize that, and I'm going to hit A to select it all in the graph editor, and change it to linear interpolation. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it straight. It's just going to go in a straight line from point A to point B. And let's check it. I'm going to go ahead and change the playback speed to frame dropping. And then I'll just drop the frames in order for it to basically play at the proper speed that it's supposed to. So that is a perfect loop. Again, the key to this is to actually put the first camera keyframe on frame 0, but actually start the animation at frame 1. And that just creates the perfect loop because you're actually taking away one frame. I think for me, the big thing that I wanted to do here is create a good spotlight for some moody lighting. And then I'll go in and throw in a volume cube just to get that started. Just take off the surface in the material output and change it to a volume scatter. So to start off, we will maybe go in a sort of hall, thinking of a really fancy plaza or something like that. And I'm going into the tile pattern here and increasing the scale on the mapping just so it doesn't look repeated down here. The default level at 1 can just obviously look really blown out because we've scaled our plane up so high. So I just go into the scale and then put it down. I'm sure there's a smarter way to do that. So if we want a plaza, what we'll do, add some other elements that relate or give that idea. Like this canopy idea right here. That could work. See what it looks like in the background. And again, I'm just taking assets from BlenderKit and making it work for the scene, basically. I think what I want to do with this is actually take off the ceiling, and then we'll pull it over. Now let's frame him just a little bit better. There we are. Now let's add some other elements, like a vase, maybe. I think my philosophy on these types of things is just to place items that help the story or help sell the idea that this character is actually in this space. And what that basically means is putting down items that are of similar kind, right? So if we got fancy columns, we might also have a nice vase or a nice chair, a love seat maybe. We could also literally type in fancy couch, not coach. Although I do like those paintings though. Paintings could work. Might be interesting to have them hovering maybe. Just keep it mystical. Here we go. That's not bad. Stuff like this can really elevate an animation depending on how you do it, of course. Just depends on where you're trying to go with it. It's got a chandelier too. That looks like we've got a little too much for the computer right now. Now it's back with us. Chandelier. Selling that idea. Piano player. My second goal here is to actually change the animation every so often. So what we want to do for that, change the viewport render samples to 150, just so we can render a little bit more in the background here. So we'll take our number here, we'll go 288 divided by, let's say 3. So it's it's at 96. So I'm going to put a marker at 96, then 96 plus 96 for our 2/3 point, 192. And then just to triple check, 192 plus 96 brings us all the way back to where we were. And so what I mean by change everything out is as soon as we cross this threshold right here, I want to snap all of these. I want to snap basically the entire scene to something else. Now, there's quite a few ways you can do that. You can take everything and just hit keyframe and then go to the next frame that you want everything to be off of and take everything that you want to move and then just move it in the direction that you want it to go. So it could be up, down. I typically go down and just it keeps everything nice together. And then before doing anything else, I go here and change the interpolation mode to constant. And that's really going to help render time because your computer will not like this idea here. So great, so we have that. Now I'm actually going to get a whole different piano because we've changed up our scene entirely. So we've got this guy. Might want to change my fog cube to viewport display wire. That'll help us see things from the side here. And my goal with that is to make sure that the piano's lined up the right way. That seems right. Now let's look at this really quick. Oh, of course, more important thing is to make sure our piano is also keyframed. So if we look at our render view, we've got two totally different scenes, but we're keeping everything in place. Now we've got scene 2 to set up. And for scene 2, I was thinking something like forest. Piano playing in the middle of a forest area. And so with that, I'm going to change the floor first, just to set the idea in motion. And then from here, I'm going to place some trees and bushes and all sorts of things. The way that I like to do this is come in and just start placing things down. It's not a great method if you don't have a ton of space or a great computer. And of course, I forgot the light. So we just want to make sure that the light is also animated if we're going to be moving it. We just want to make sure that if we're using a different light, that we want to make sure that it's in the correct position. I don't think I'm actually going to change this. I'll just change the perception of it. And I'll animate the location and size, and then also the power. Oh, and then probably the spread as well. So we got that. Bring up our power just a bit. I guess that's a lot. Bring up the spread just a bit as well. The idea here is that we're changing dramatically, just to keep the viewer's interest and better illustrate that there's a sort of change happening or something interesting going on that we don't entirely understand, something mystical and fantastical. So from here, I'm just going to be placing different objects around and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. And the best way to go about doing that typically is to look for scans. Scans are always just going to have the most realistic textures. And what we'll do, we'll add an RGB curves, make sure that the image is in the color, not the factor. And all we're going to do is just bring up the brightness of this image, just so it kind of matches a little bit more here. And then from there, just make sure that your scans aren't really standing out too much. And just the easy way to do that is to duplicate and rotate. You can also scale on the Z, and that should help out a lot. Really hide some of those scan points where it's sticking up out of the ground or just looking a little unnatural. A little fern here. Great. So I think at this point, I'm definitely going to go distribute some points so that we can get some foliage down. How interesting. Okay. I know it could do that. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't even have any children. So if we go children interpolated, we definitely don't want 140. Go down to 50. Maybe go down to 25 for this one. Looks like the variation here is a little too similar. So we go there. That's kind of nice. So let's see. We got everything here. Okay, we did not take our plane with us. Make sure we do that. And this one needs to go just a little bit further down, but we don't want that to happen. We need to make sure that we keyframe it first on the last frame, and then on the new frame, we're going to keyframe it again where it's totally out of the composition. Select everything in the last composition and hit A in the graph editor to change everything to constant interpolation. And again, that is just going to help with any smearing artifacts. Okay, we have the last one here. We'll pull up the plane again, pick out a new piano, go with this old one. So for this one, I was actually thinking it might be nice to take out the fog. So we'll keep that here, keep this guy here, and then move it down, potentially. Actually, no, let's keep it up, and we'll change our lighting situation. Scale it up so it's much softer. And let's even, gotta make sure that we animate the correct properties here. Let's go ahead and take this guy, maybe off to the side there. Now what I was thinking about doing is doing something like a mirror lake, maybe. Something kind of fun like this. And then getting in a building, maybe like a temple. A temple that I want to use. So we'll try this one. And I actually want to give it an effect here. So we'll make one right here, and then maybe we'll scale another one out, which looks a little bit more interesting. Gives us just a little bit more to look at and understand. I think it might be fun to keep this last one relatively simple and just have the elements animating. Seem like they're doing some sort of giant mechanism, maybe. We'll see how that looks. Let's actually take this middle one and scale it up. See how that goes. Let's try changing it to metallic, maybe. I think that's a little bit more interesting for our purposes here. And it looks like that switch is pretty decent. Definitely a big difference in color saturation and somewhat of a big difference in lighting. So I'm looking for a jazz dance. I believe that's what it was called. Just type that in. So we got one. We'll go in this time and import our FBX. It's to be scaled up again. And I actually like this to be reminiscent of the piano player, but as white body or a mute body. It doesn't have any textures or anything. I think that's kind of fascinating. So I think I'll keep it here. And then we want to make sure that it actually plays throughout this section. And then we need to also make sure that it is moving at the right rate. And it's in the right spot, of course. Actually, the other thing that we might be able to do with this is keep these dancers around to continue to sell the idea that this whole effect is a looping transition. And that might be really interesting, actually. We just play things on the fly here. That's all we do most of the time. No one has any idea of what's going on. Certainly not me. So let's go in and add a modifier called cycles. All right. So if we do want to do that, the big thing that we need to make sure of is that our character is looping as well. That would tell us that they are not. We need to come back, and there you go. I think that should loop him. The other thing we want to make sure of is that he's actually moving. Just give him a empty, and that empty will decide the location. That will help us to figure it out. Make it just a little easier. Got to make sure that it's the right selection first. Armature first, then empty. Parent, keyframe at 1. Then we go to 96 and move. Now let's see if that'll work. Trying to watch his steps, see if he's floating at all. And it looks like he is floating. Just a tad bit there. And it also looks like in the next frame, there is a tree trunk in his way. let's see if we can't get that out of the way. Oops. He's stepping into some flower plots there, but let's see. And it looks like we're actually floating forward this time. We don't want to be floating forward, and we don't want to be floating on ourselves either. So let's move him back just a tad. See if that works right there. And there we go. We can see that happening right there. The big thing you want to see is just that foot planted and not moving forward. It does move forward just a bit, but that's a very small amount of gliding that you typically would not notice at all. So I think from here, the big thing that we want to make sure, of course, that he's back in position for the actual loop. And so I think the easier way to do that would probably be to just have him turn around, to have him rotate, flips around. So he's turning around here, going back, and staying stationary. And that's not what we want him to do. So we have to figure that out. So we want him to cut across, around, go back, turn around again. What we're doing here. Let's go ahead and do this again on the other side. And instead of keyframing everything again so that it's perfect, we're going to snap the cursor to world origin, create a new empty cube, bring it up on the Z just a bit, and scale it up. And then we're going to take this whole guy, actually go to your empty and select hierarchy. And all you need to do is Alt-D, and then make that new empty and make it a child of this empty. And then we will take the new one that we had and we will just rotate it 180. And now we've got a new guy over there on the other side. And if it doesn't work, which it might not, although it kind of looks like it is. All right, I think that is our animation. For rendering, I will have the samples at 150, change our AGX to medium, high contrast, and change our percent value to 150. And then let's give it a test render really quick. Now, if you want to save on render speed, if this is really slow for you, you can go in and individually hide any of the objects in your scenes, and that will help dramatically. And the way to do that is you just hit a keyframe, disable in renders. So I'm rendering with a 4080, and it's about 25 seconds for me, so that's really not too bad. One thing that I like to do that is, I think it's beneficial, is just render out a few scenes, especially towards the end, or I guess whatever scenes you want to be your hero frames, and then actually take a look at everything and see your colors, see what stands out to you. I think for me, actually, the piano and the stool stand out a lot. And I think I'm going to change those to white, just with the rest of the composition. It makes a lot of sense. Even though we want our character to stand out, it could make a lot of sense to actually have those colors be the same. So I'm going to go and do that. A smart way to do this actually is to take out the base color. And the reason why is because you still maintain your metallic and normal so that it still ends up looking like a wooden structure that's just been painted white. And that almost always looks better to still have your normals and everything set up there. So that works out pretty nicely for us. Make sure that everything is actually white. There we go. A little better. You just do a white metal. There we go. Looking nice. If you are interested in dissecting this, I will have it on my Patreon. I'll still give out the dancing models and the character for free so that you can totally follow along with everything that I've done here. But let me know in the comments if you guys want to see more weird stuff like this, for content creation, social media, things like that. I'm really hoping to try and create more tutorials that stand out and aren't typical, especially I think in the animation realm for social media and content. There's a lot of really great creators out there who are doing cool stuff and no one's talking about it. So let me know if you see something or want me to talk about anything. Thank you for watching.